Kawe budi kawe Kusaug ken niti zina sonsega te banta wa sonsega wana ka zina te ben niti sama te yaba te bire te tawo Professor John Azumah ka te pamni ni KPC president zina te bore te bang on anin so on tum so on yang dolle pa KPC to mala hanni zina ne tinan nyako o ma press conferences na te tam katwa Kusaug yela na musa na sosoka zina Prof tintin
na ya so
na to wala
alafiya en gina wala
lafiya te bergo be mel Kusaug ngose wani tengere la ndula ka Kusaug te tambe bergo mpa Professor Azumah ka tenan bani mi ifkara kazina la fuzu bani yom bang halka Kusaug wosabe Kusaug you for you the munifi the nkrumah of Kusaug ka the word te bang ano Professor Azumah
yo te pose ya pam mam bitti ninko pusuk daba mana ninko bi dabi amna ninko no bangania jeng sakura nania jeng secondary school na vongo mana nabia na vongo secondary school kam jeng sakur so nani ate na pasta nam toma Presby Church jeng basakura tamali kake nke Accra pala nakin seminary Accra pala kake na seminary la pastor then ka bune ordained pastor la so ba malam pastor Presby Church na mtum na kumasi ndenga tum sunyane katum kumasi kake na mia nkin masaten UK nkin ngazana se bana kintu Ania kam ke malam masters kake malam doctor PhD kake nyona na nile na ya Ghana na to the Presby Church bila kake king India en kem pa na niya so king India kem pa na niya wala yo mata kake nan India lab Ghana na ya man na lab Ghana na la kake kale ningo na yo ma ata kam tumne Akufo Christian Presby dem saku kam tumanya yo mata kake ka babulum UK London yumkana head sakursi abelinya kala ana Center for Islamic Studies kala be London School of Theology ani ya kam tinga director na ani ke king US king to US on 11 years
wow
so na US on 11 years kake le bakulga na kala na 2019 kam le bakulda
okay
kenzi so purmana kan tum Kusaug bero ama nang ba ma nasa tinga man kunne yo mo sama kunne kuna ko sayana asi
wo binike ka buri bergo be mbanga tutwala anala ka te bolte sonse katwane yelsiwa ka timi te platform ma asima ka Kusaug ma be ka Kusaug ma ngota so yake kina pana tinane sos ka na asal ka dunia usa miange ba katyange insal we educate ni baka bang yala la intensin diure fupia fon tung usa ka wot banya kwani bi se ni ada social life be
yeah so mam more te manam yipua Grace te more bi sata biri bisa ni pum
wow
te wasara gana kala that then Accra Palato Manana, to Sanneh Institute as the executive director. My Yunasa thing a lot like a case in Sintakanga. Coming a signal to the University of Ghana.
Okay.
Land University of Satin. So I am the founding director of the Sanneh Institute.
Okay.
Which is in Accra here.
Okay. So with Sanneh Institute, Bonoboka, Toma, what are you into with the Sanneh Institute?
With Sanneh Institute, we are a research institute.
Okay.
So number one, I'm a base of research. Syria man, I don't want to borrow the bank information now. We do it through research.
Okay.
So we call ourselves information detectives.
Okay.
Whatever the information is hiding, we will fish it out. We will look for it.
Okay.
So we do a lot of research mainly in the area of religion and Christianity and Islam.
Okay.
Those are the things that we do our research in.
Okay.
And therefore we are not able to do a lot of other things like politics and other, but that's not our area.
Okay.
We focus mainly on religion.
Okay.
And so we do a lot of campaigns and other social issues also.
Okay.
Like you have noticed that one of the issues that we've campaigned on strong is witchcraft accusations. It's affecting vulnerable people. Yes. But it also has a religious component.
Okay.
So that's why these are some of the things that we do.
Okay. So Sanneh is mainly on religious research.
Research, yeah.
Wow. And if there are issues that has any
social impact, we do that also.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And now let's come to KPC.
Mm-hmm.
KPC was launched, I think, 2022, right?
Yes.
December.
Mm-hmm.
And you were voted the president.
Yeah.
Of KPC.
Yeah.
So if you can walk us through KPC, what KPC stands for, what KPC is into, or what you seek to do for the people of Kusaug.
Yeah. Well, KPC started mainly from a discussion that we were having on the platform.
Okay.
About the Kusaug Yelena. The way things are going on in Kusaug, we were not happy.
Yeah.
And there was a lack of leadership. There was a vacuum. And everyone was looking up to the palace, Bawku. And we also know that the palace cannot do everything. So some of us suggested that we should form a group that will fill that vacuum. And it was in the formation of that group that KPC emerged. So we put a team together to work towards putting the group together. And it was from my office here that we designed a lot of the things with some of the team that we put together.
Okay.
Those that we invited to join to help set up. A lot of them didn't participate. People just didn't have time. But a few of us committed our time to it, and we worked day and night. Collected a lot of contributions from Kusaugs around the world. And then we set up the program in Zabira in December 2022, where we went and launched the KPC there. And as you said, I was elected as the president of KPC with a team of executives to work with.
Yes.
And that's what we started doing very seriously from January 2023. So the whole of 2023, we have been very busy. We were very busy working as KPC to fill that gap that we saw was needed to be filled.
Okay. So with the, let's say in 2023, KPC, as you said, you were very busy with KPC activities and series of press conferences and other issues. There was one, if I can remember, that a lot of us actually didn't know, or a lot of Ghanaians didn't know about, was how the Northeast Province, one person was appointed or elected to lead the Northeast Province, and also the claim of some people to own Bawku, some of the issues you brought about. I want to find out, is it that some of these records are there in Ghana and we just don't pay attention to them, or is it that we can't find them in our archives in Ghana?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you are right. We brought a lot of things up in our press conferences. Again, because I told you that my work, my training is research. And so when I took up the presidency of KPC, I applied my knowledge into that area. Okay. I wanted to use my skill, my profession into that area to investigate the matter. Because of my training, before I speak about something, I have to do my homework, make sure I have the facts. The information is all there. Sadly, the information is all there, not even far away from us. A lot of information is in Tamale.
Wow.
A lot of this information that I found is sitting in Tamale, in the archives in Tamale. When you go to the archives in Tamale, nobody goes there. I went and spent so much time sitting in the archives, going through the files, and I can tell you, I'll go and sit there in the morning till evening, and nobody will come in there. I'll be on my own, because people don't see the value of this information, but it's sitting there. So I dug those informations out of the archives. Some of the information too, we got it from the British online archives, and you have to subscribe to it and pay some money, and then they will give you access. And that's what I did, to access some of the files from the British archives. And some of them too, we got them from Accra, archives in Accra here. So a lot of my work was from the British online archives, Accra archives in Accra here, and Tamale archives in particular. A lot of the documents to do with the North, you'll find it in the Tamale archives. A lot of the papers are getting old.
Tamale library, right?
No, it's called PRAD, Public Records and Administration Department.
Okay.
In Tamale, and they have a branch in Accra here.
Okay.
It used to be it's like the National Archives.
Yes.
But this is the Northern Office branch.
Okay.
So a lot of the papers they have there, they have copies in Accra and vice versa.
Okay.
And that's where a lot of the documents are. So I found a lot of these documents there, and I was very surprised. I learned so much for myself that I never knew about the area, about the chieftaincy, and a lot about even Kusaug, and about my own people that I didn't know. A lot of the information is there. So as I'm speaking to you, I have got so much of these documents on my computer, because I scanned them. I made sure I scan all of these documents that are relevant to my work, and I've got them on my computer that I use. I'm actually working on the book now. Inshallah, the book will come out at the end of this year or early next year. Okay. That I've written on the whole of the issue of the Kusaug and the chieftaincy matter in the Northeast, in the Upper East regions.
Okay. So, like, can we go deep into the issue of is it 1912? That's where I want us to look at.
So let me back up a little bit. When the British first came, before the British settled in northern Ghana, they sent an emissary or an envoy to go and survey the area and to sign treaties with chiefs. The British didn't want to just come and start shooting everybody. They wanted to sign treaties with the chiefs in the area so that they can come under British rule by agreement, by treaty. And the guy they sent was called George Akim Ferguson. George Akim Ferguson, many of us have heard his name growing up in schools. He's a Fanti man. He's from Anomabu. And he was the one they sent in 1892. And he went to the north to sign agreement with some of the chiefs. He first went to the Dagomba area, the Gonja area, and then went back to Accra. And in 1894, he was asked to go back and go further up north than Tamale and the Gonja area. And he went to Mampusi area, went to the Wala area, went all the way to Burkina, to Ouagadougou, and to Sassana Mango, to sign treaties with chiefs there to be under British rule. So I read all the diaries written by George Akim Ferguson for this before even the British even got there. So he has published his diaries. I read all of that.
Wow.
Lot of information in it, what he saw. And George Akim Ferguson went through the Kusasa area, the caravan, the slave trade route. He took it and went through Bawku. He came from Gambaga, went through the Gambaga, went through Senabaga, Beduri, Bawku. He went through all of those places. That was the main route.
Yes.
He said he never saw a chief in that area. George Akim Ferguson wrote in his diary that there's no chiefs in those areas, and that land belonged to some Gurisi. That's how he put it. Some Gurisi tribe called Kusasi and Busanges. That they live in that area, and that there are no chiefs. Fast forward, when the British arrived, they went through that area looking for chiefs, and they didn't find chiefs. They said there was no evidence of chiefs, and the British had to produce chiefs. You see, so because the British wanted to rule through the chiefs.
So that was around 1894.
That was around 1901 now, 1898 going to 1900 now.
Wow.
When the British began to move into that part now.
So
George Akim Ferguson finished his work 1896 that he was killed in Wa. He went back to Wa in 1896 and was killed there by Samori, his army.
Okay.
So it was in 1897 that the British now sent a military post to the north to begin to explore and to work with the chiefs that they had signed the treaties with.
Okay.
And that is how the British got to Bawku. Bawku was opened as a station in 1909.
Okay.
They put their headquarters in Gambaga, and they opened Bawku, they opened Wa, they opened Navrongo, Zuwarangu, all of these areas. 1909 was when Bawku Station was formally opened. You see, and that was when the British started appointing people as chiefs. That was the time that the Mampusi people who were there, these people were there, and they were not actually guards as they claim. They were like mercenaries. You know, those days there was no security, so people moved into these areas. They are hunting for slaves. Because of the slave trade, they are catching Kusasi children and women to sell, and Kusasis were very defensive of their people. They were doing the same thing in the Papa area and in the Bulsa area, in the Kassina area. Slave trade was what was happening. So when the traders are coming through, then they say they will extort money from the traders and guard them through. So that's what they were doing. But when the traders are gone, they go back to raiding, pillaging, and stealing cattle. And this is what these people were doing.
So they claim that they were Mampusi chiefs even from 1721.
It's completely untrue. There's no evidence of that. George Akim Ferguson, as I said, he went there looking for chiefs to sign
treaties with.
He never found a single chief in that area. He wrote it in his diary.
So then now Ali,
all of those were just these are traditions that they repeat. And when George Akim Ferguson was leaving Nigeria after signing with the Nigeria and was going to Ouagadougou and went to the Kusasi area, the Nigerian never told George Akim Ferguson that if you get to Bawku, I have brought some chiefs there.
Or my children
are there. Not one mention. For me as a researcher, that is very telling. That if Nairi had chiefs, had his children on that route
and ruling
that place, he would have told George Akim Ferguson, when you get there, my children are there. He never mentioned it.
Exactly.
And George Akim Ferguson noted in his book that he started that he never saw a chief and that he met some strong men. And this is a hint of the people who were there raiding.
Okay.
He said he met some strong men, and when he asked them who is their chief, they said we have no chief, and we are under no chief. It's written in his diary that the people say they have no chief and they are under no chief. So where were those chiefs that George Akim Ferguson passed through there? Looking for chiefs.
The Binduru chief, the
Senebaga, Bawku. He went to and he never found a chief. So these were community leaders there who were doing their own things. They were not chiefs.
Okay.
And even Nigeria didn't know of their presence there. Nigeria never knew of their presence there. And let me tell you, when Nigeria was appointed in 1912 to be the paramount chief of the Northeastern province, Nigeria himself didn't know what it was all about. He was like, this is what the white people are telling him. They were forcing him to travel to tour the area. Nairi didn't want to go. And the commissioners were telling some of their bosses that, look, this guy, he doesn't rule the area. He doesn't even know the area.
Yes.
But the British were forcing him because the British thought that all of that area was part of his kingdom and that he had left it and because he doesn't visit the area, that's why the place had become so wild. But it wasn't part of his kingdom.
So all the chieftaincy they started from 1912.
It started, that was when the Mampusi were actually, Nigeria was placed in charge of the whole of the north.
And he was now putting people.
And that the British started by appointing chiefs. And then when they appoint you, they will ask you to go to Nigeria. And Nigeria will put the ritual on you.
Okay.
So that is how they started by pushing the people towards Nigeria. So if Nigeria wouldn't visit, they will make the chiefs to visit, to go there.
Okay.
So it's like you go and then you are sworn into office. So that's what many of the Fafa chiefs were doing, the Kosasi chiefs were doing. Even some Bulsa chiefs were doing that.
So the Northeast province, there are Kasino, Busa, Wala.
Not Wala. Wala was not even part of it. Wala is in the northwest.
Okay.
They were in the northwest province.
So like Upper West was not part of it.
It was not part. It's that today Upper East and Northeast together.
So the Kasina and the Bulses,
they were all part of it.
So they were all under Nairi.
They were all under Nairi.
Okay. So but currently.
But they protested. The Kasinas and the Bulses protested even in 1912.
Okay.
But they did not recognize Nairi.
So they even refused.
They refused. And they were forced for a long time. And they kept refusing and resisting.
Okay.
But the Kusasis and the Fafas did not resist.
Because they didn't also know what chieftaincy was.
They didn't know what chieftaincy was.
Okay.
And at that point too, the Kusasi area was divided into three different parts.
Okay.
That's one thing we forget. The Kusasi area was divided. A lot of the Kusasis were in Ghana, the British territory.
Okay.
A small part of them were in Burkina, the Ayuga area.
Okay.
And then a small part of it went to Germany. Pusiga, Buguri, Gagwiri, Garu, Tempane, Wirkambo, Wirinyanga, all of that area was in German territory.
Yeah, the German Togoland.
The German yes.
Yes, okay.
So the British only had part of Agole and part of Atonde.
Okay.
You see. So the Kusasi area was divided into three different components. Germany, British, French. You see. Okay. So at that point, the Germans had also appointed some chiefs in the Pusiga area and the Gabiri area. And the British were appointing chiefs in the Ghana area.
Okay.
And on the Agole side, the British appointed the Mampusis because they were on the road.
Yes.
The main road. So they were those who were on that road doing the work that I was telling you earlier.
Yeah.
And so the British, when the British came and started looking for chiefs, you can imagine them simply saying, and they were looking for strong men to make them chiefs. And George Akin Ferguson talks about meeting strong men on that road.
On that road, okay.
These were the strong men that they made the chiefs. The British made the chiefs. And even when they told Boko Naba, after making the chiefs, to go to Nadiru, they didn't want to go. They didn't want to go. The Mampusis themselves didn't want to go to Nadiru. It's all in the documents. And when in 1931, they elected the Mampusi man to become the Kusasi tribal chief. And they asked him to go to Nigeria for the recognition. He went there, and all that Nigeria was interested in was the payment of the monies.
The
taxes. And the guy came back and regretted going. So the Boko Naba at the time, Lobzuri, he was called Naba Lobzuri. And Lobzuri was not happy with Nigeria. And he and Nigeria were not in good terms for a long time.
Okay.
When Lobzuri died and Nakologa came, the same thing. It got worse, even in the Nakologa. He and Nigeria were not in good terms.
Okay.
Very nasty letters. I've got them all on file.
Wow.
So all of these things are there.
The information is
there.
So I have read a book. Even though the book I have issues because in the book there's a page where my area, now called Mazima, but it was not called Mazima. But the person who wrote the book mentioned it as Mazima. He was giving history of one process in Bawku and the years, this 17th century and all those things. He mentioned that it was called Mazima. And the British who pushed those who are the leather, the cow hide.
Yes,
so
the hide, leather workers,
they were in Zongo. So they moved them to our area. And in house, I want to say Jima. Jima means those who are. So that is the word. And it became Majema. So Majema means those people doing
the skin.
So it just became Majema, and now it is called Majema. If not, there's a shrine in my area. Which currently the area Mampushi's claim is Yirongo. Is Akwa-Addo Yira. That's the name of the shrine. But now, and that is the name of the area. But now
and let me tell you, I've told you already that when George Ferguson was writing his notes, his diary, he said that area is occupied by Busansis and Kusasis. George Ferguson never mentioned a single Mampus. Okay? And when in 1913, the British did what they call intelligence survey of the whole area. 1913. 13.
Okay.
They did what they call intelligence survey. And they surveyed the area. In that survey, the Kusasi area was identified as the natives there are Kusasis and Busangas. Busangas too were split. Some of them came to Ghana. Some majority remained in Burkina.
Okay.
You see. So in 1913, they were talking about Busangas and Kusas as the natives. 1913. And even in 1913, after they did the survey, they reported in that survey report that the chiefs in that part, they don't think they are the right chiefs. The chiefs that the British themselves had appointed earlier and placed there, that they don't think they are the right chiefs because they are not Kusasis and they are not Busangas.
They didn't know the tradition.
They didn't know the traditions of the people. You see. So in 1913, the British themselves were beginning to doubt whether the Mampuses actually should be the rulers there
or not.
But the problem is that the Kusasis were not protesting.
So we were interested.
We were not interested. So they were like, if the people are not objecting and they are accepting it, what's our problem? We want order and peace. And they allowed it.
And an authority we can work with.
Exactly. And an authority we can work with.
Okay.
So, and in 1923, the first time they started drawing the maps of the areas and using the local names, that area, the Kusasi area, was named Kusasi
district.
It was named Kusasi district.
Yes.
From 1923, throughout 1923 to 1967. In fact, to 1965, if you look at that area, it's been called Kusasi. In the maps, I've got all the maps. The old maps are there. Even in the Mampusis' own local council meetings, their minutes, I've got a lot of their minutes. In the 1950s, they record that area
Kusasi district.
Kusasi sub-district. That's how they record it.
Yeah.
Not once has that area been called Mampus area. Not once.
Okay.
So, even in 1950s, when the election started, and they were demarcating the area into constituencies, what we call constituencies now, it was called Kusasi Central, Kusasi East, and Kusasi West. There were 3 constituencies. Okay? That was what happened in 1952, 54, 1951, 54, 56. All was Kusasi Central, Kusasi East, Kusasi West. It was in 1965 that it was split up. And there's another history there in 1965. Very interesting history there. That the names were changed to Bawku. But even in 1967, when they were talking about proposing district names, the name proposed for that area was Kusasi again. That's 1967. I've got all of those maps.
Wow.
So when somebody comes and tells you that the area is a Mampusi area, when was that ever identified as Mampusi area?
And there was a write-up you shared that some of the history, like it was someone pushes who even wrote it, and you mentioned the name of the person and all those things.
Yeah.
So is it that they don't have some of these history?
There is this guy. He's called A. Ilyasu.
Yeah.
Dr. Ilyasu was one of the great historians. Unfortunately, he died so young.
Okay.
He was at the University of Ghana here, at the history department. Okay. If you go there, Ilyasu's name is still remembered. He was a very brainy person.
Oh.
Ilyasu wrote a very important article on chieftaincy in that area. And Ilyasu makes 3 important points in the article. Ilyasu is from Lalerugu.
Yeah.
Mahamudu Bawumia, Dr. Bawumia's father, said he taught Ilyasu a very important Dr. Bawumia's father's own memoirs that he taught Ilyasu was one of his students.
Okay.
So Ilyasu wrote in that article, he mentioned 3 important things. He said that when the Mampusi people started moving into the Frafra and the Kusaug area, they were not conquerors. They moved there as migrants there to settle.
Okay.
And that they never conquered the place. Number 1. They moved into those areas. They never conquered the place. They just moved in as settlements.
Okay.
Number 2, that they had very little relationship with Naliru.
So those Mampusis who moved to those areas,
yes,
had very little
relationship with Naliru. He said Nairi was just another figure somewhere for them. And that there was no formal relationship with Nairi.
Though they were Mampusis, but they never had that contact.
They never had that contact, let alone be made chiefs by Nairi.
Okay.
You see. And he also added that there was no tribute being paid to Nairi or anybody before the British came. There was nothing like tribute. So these are things that Ilyasu has said. And Ilyasu added that one of the area that benefited the most from British colonialism was Mampuru. He said Mampuru benefited the most because the British added these proper areas and Kusaug areas to Mampuru.
Okay.
And he's a native of Walawade.
Yeah.
But he was an academic. And he just wrote as a scholar, as the objective scholar that he is.
Yes.
You see. The paper is there. I'm not making it up. They can go. He wrote this paper in 1975.
It's even too quite not long.
Exactly. So they can read the paper for themselves.
Okay. In your recent press conference, the issue of how Syria Bagre got to Bawku, you spoke about the leadership issues in the government and the use of, I want to use a better word. You mentioned that it's like the government has not been fair to. So I want you to talk about why you said those things.
Yes, I want to say that sadly, what is happening in Bawku is a symptom of what is happening in the whole of Ghana when it comes to law enforcement. One of the biggest failures of this current government, in my view, is the lack of holding people accountable. And there are a lot of examples in other parts of the country where people have done things and gotten away with it. And the security apparatus have not been able to apprehend and prosecute people. That is what is happening in Bawku. What that means is that politics has infiltrated deep into our security apparatus. And the security personnel are not given the free hand to do their work as professionals. There are politicians and political appointees behind the scenes who are directing and interfering into the work of the security forces. Sadly, our military, our police has become politicized. That is what Bawku is suffering from. And secondly, the government is woefully divided. There are people in the government who support the Mahamudu cause. There are people in the government who support the Kusaugs. And I would say the same with the NDC. There are people in the NDC party who support the Mahamudu strongly. And there are people in the NDC who support the Kusaug cause. That is why we need to educate people. Some of them are doing it out of ignorance.
Yes.
Some of them are doing it out of ideological leanings.
Okay.
So we need to educate those that we can educate. Those for whom it's an ideology, you can't change them.
Yes.
But there are a lot of them who have been out of ignorance because they don't know the history.
Yes.
They don't know the area.
Yes.
You see, that is why we need to educate people. So what is happening in Bawku with Sanneh Abagre is a result of some of these divisions within the government sector. So for me, Akufo-Addo, as president of the nation, has disengaged for so many things, not just from Bawku. He has disengaged from many things. And we are paying the price.
Is it that he doesn't care anymore because he's living, or just that?
I don't know what it is, but he seems to just unconcerned. And that is sad. Maybe it's just tiredness, it's just old age, maybe it's just the area is not important to him. I'm sure if this was happening in a Chim area, Akufo-Addo as president would have paid more attention to it. And that's one other factor we are not naming. This is happening in northern Ghana. And you know the perception people have about northerners. Oh, northerners, that's how they are.
They are violent.
They are violent people. Leave them to kill each other. What else can they do? That is the perception they have about northerners.
Okay.
And so, but one of the things that disturbs me is the amount of resources that Ghanaian taxpayers are coughing up for maintenance of security in Bawku.
Okay.
That is not bringing about any improvement in situation.
Yes.
That's what is so sad. For Sanneh Abagre going back to Bawku, it was all part of the politics. It was all part of the division.
There was a video we saw circulating that the president went to the Nairobi and promised that he would get Sanneh Abagre to go home. There are people who have come on TV stations to say a lot of things concerning how the man went to, that the man has gone home. He's just like any ordinary Ghanaian, and he's from Bawku, so he has the right to go home and all those things. And his going home has led to the killings of over 20 people. The government said he had a meeting with security and whatever, and wrote again that it is as a result of the man going to Bawku that has caused this. But up till now, no attempt has been done to arrest the person the government claims is a criminal, calling himself a chief.
And again, I can tell you that there are some people within the government who are calling for the guy to be arrested. As we are talking now, there are some people in the government who are calling for that. And there are some in the government who are resisting it. That it shouldn't be done. Because, unfortunately, the Kusaug Traditional Council came out with a press statement when Abagre went to Bawku and banned the MPP party from campaigning in the Kusaug area.
I was coming to that.
That has really caused so much trouble. So that it has even some government functionaries who were sympathetic to the Kusaug cause turned the other way around. Because they are like, why should the Traditional Council do that? Why? What power did we have to even come out and ban one political party? If they have come out to say, we are boycotting NPP party, it's a different thing. But you don't come out and say, we are banning it.
They said they are banning the political activity of
That's what I'm saying. So if you come and say you have banned the political activities, you have to have authority to do that. You don't have the authority to do that. But you can boycott.
Okay.
They could have come out and said, we are boycotting NPP political activities.
So no Kusaug or Kusasi should
will not attend. But that is a different thing. We've got the right to boycott things.
Just like some of the MPs said they have suspended.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. That is your right to do that. But when you come and say you are banning it, ban means a legal authority that you have.
Yes.
That was where our people, I think, made a mistake.
Okay.
And that mistake cost us some goodwill. I'm not saying that because, in fact, if the government had goodwill about us, I say that Bangladesh should have been in Bawku in the first place.
Yeah.
He should have gone in Bawku. He should have been arrested a long time ago.
That's what I wanted to say. Because
he should have been arrested.
If the same government will allow the security to escort the man to Bawku, they mean that they don't care about whoever is saying anything.
Yeah, but that's how I was telling you that the president is not engaged. The day the Traditional Council issued the press statement, that very Monday, the president was having a National Security Council meeting in his office. And the decision was taken to remove Abagre from Bawku.
But why is he still there?
But as I'm telling you, when they came out from that meeting, then they saw the Kusaug Traditional Council statement. So we were following it. Some of us were following what was happening. You see. Okay. So unfortunately, when the statement came out, I called one of the elders in Bawku and I said, this statement is going to cause problem for us. So if some of us had been consulted, you will not issue more than one-page statement, and the government will be running to arrest Sida Bagri. Okay. I said, if you had sponsored some of us, but I can understand the pressure on the ground. I'm in Accra. They are on the ground. The pressure they are facing is different from me here.
The people who are having sleepless nights.
Exactly.
Every day.
Exactly.
And when the man went, they had 3 days off.
So I'm just pointing out the mistakes. I'm not blaming the Traditional Council because they were under so much pressure.
Yes.
But when you are under pressure, you can make mistakes.
Okay.
You see, and that is what happened. But for me, the biggest mistake and the responsibility, all of the death that happened, should be laid at the feet of the government, President Akufo-Addo and his government. Okay. They are responsible for the blood of the people that have been shed in Bawku on this issue.
Okay. So far with KPC and the works we have done and the information you just or the education you have given us, what do you think are some of the I would say the great achievement or the achievements of KPC so far for I think it's almost 2 years now, KPC.
Yeah, as you know, KPC, we did work intensely in 2023. 2024, we ran into challenges.
Yes.
We didn't do much.
Yes.
In 2024, until Abagre went back to Bawku, okay. And people were calling and putting pressure on us to do something again. And that is the nature of Kusaug. Unfortunately, when the matter cooled down a little bit, our traditional authorities went back.
Yes.
They fell asleep. They were just there in skinning and fighting over in skinning. Nobody cared about anything again. And then Sida Bagri came back to Bawku.
Yeah.
The warrant was lifted and he's come back to Bawku. And then all of a sudden, we are back to panic mode again. Kusaug don't have a plan. We don't have a strategy. That is what hates some of us. So it makes us feel like when you are fighting this fight, you are fighting an unwinnable battle.
Okay.
Because you can't win a battle without a plan and a strategy. And I can tell you, Kusaug have no strategy. We have no plan. And that is what we need to sort out.
Is that the work of KPC? And like you said, this year KPC has been into challenges. Some of us have complained, who are our fathers? And there are so many issues. The old man has called all of you as his brothers and children, spoken and said, you will come together. The fight is for Kusaug, not for individual fight. And it seems like the whole of 2024, the division is still lingering and nothing has been done. And as the Nkrumah of our time that our youth have named you, what do you think is the way forward? Because this fight, if it continues, it means that the division will continue. Because somewhere we have people who are, we are with Prof. Prof, continue, do what you are doing. We like you, we like what you are doing. There are some who are saying Prof is being arrogant, Prof is being this, Prof is being self-centered, Prof is doing things on his own and all those things. As a father and as a leader, a religious leader for that matter, you studied the Christian and the Islamic religion, and also as a son of Kusaug. What do you think is the way forward with your brothers and your fathers? On KPC issues and all.
With KPC, it's sad, as we said, that we started so well in 2023. I have an executive that I was appointed to work with. The executive, as far as I know, never came out to say I wasn't working with them.
Okay.
I was working with the executive. But we had a board that's supposed to be an advisory board.
Okay.
And the board did not want to do advice. They wanted to manage and control the executive.
Okay.
It was a power struggle.
Okay.
And all the allegations you talk about was coming from the board. In fact, it wasn't coming from the board. It was coming from one or two members of the board.
Okay.
And so, one of the things that Siam wrote about Kusaug, he said, Kusaug, he was talking about Atonde area. He said, Kusaug are frantically jealous people.
Okay.
He said the same about Frafres. The Frafres are very jealous of each other. So if you look at one of the reasons why Kusaug and Frafres have been subjected to Mamposi rule for this long period is because of our internal jealousy of each other.
Okay.
Okay? You can educate people who don't know. You can encourage people who are weak. But there is no medicine for people who are jealous. There's nothing you can do about jealousy. And so for some of us, it got to a point that we decided that, okay, I was selling my life, I was risking my life, I was using my resources in all of these things. And some people just felt that, why is it that, like you started by saying, young people are talking about Professor Azumah. It just happens that I am the one in the forefront at this point in time. When people talk about Kwame Nkrumah, did he lead Ghana to independence alone?
No.
He had a team of people. But there is a point person. And you need a point person. And you need others to support the point person for the rest of the masses to follow to make an impact. Unfortunately, some don't accept that. Mandela. Was it Mandela alone for South Africa?
No.
He had a team. So, unless people begin to accept that in every struggle, there's going to be one point person who leads the way and we support. And we know that the victory comes for all of us. It's not for one person. And it's not just only Kusaug. In fact, as you know, the MPP tradition has come to deny that Kwame Nkrumah was not the only one who fought. So it's the big six. When you do that, you deny younger generation of role models. If you go to Britain, they talk about Thatcher, they talk about Churchill, they talk about Julius Caesar. You talk about the history, talk about Julius Caesar, you talk about these great people. They never did anything on their alone.
Yes.
But they have become role models.
Okay.
For younger people to look up to them and aspire to be like them.
Okay.
But if we don't raise up our own role models, nobody will raise them for it. So, of course, our disease is partly the jealousy, which Simon talked about, and that one there's nothing much we can do about it. And secondly, just is in our DNA because of the clan nature. We were never one unified people. We lived in clans. and our clans, we had our clan head. That's it. So to bring the whole of Kusaug together is an impossible task.
So now our father Zugurana has come into the issue and has said that evil should squash whatever that is happening and put hands together for the future of Kusaug. Because let me say, excuse me to say, all of you are now having gray hair.
Yes.
We, these young ones, should see you people coming together to push us. Because if I have the passion and I feel like, oh, Professor Azumah, Professor Bango, Honorable Waka, Professor Mahamudu, Maxwell Agbambila, Hajia, all like your executives, Haruna and Co. and all that, we see what they are doing and they are fighting for Kusaug. And we, the young ones, feel like, oh, I'm a man. Okay, I want to be like Haruna. I want to be like Prof. I want to be like the woman to say, I want to be like Rodalin. I want to be like this person. I want to be like this person. That is what we want to see. All of you together in front and we at the back giving the support. Do you think that will happen? And do you think you would lead the way for that to happen?
That's my wish. That was what I started. When I was asked to lead KPC, I said I wouldn't do it. I refused consistently several times.
Okay.
Because I didn't trust that we would be able to be unified around one person. I feared exactly what I'm going through. I saw it coming because I saw signs of it when we were doing the planning. There are some people there who are so domineering that when they say it's A, it has to be A.
Okay.
And I don't work like that. I would never work like that.
Okay.
I am very independent minded and I listen to people before I take decision. But when I take my decision, I've taken my decision after listening to people. So for me, I knew that was going to be a problem. I hadn't, as I said, but see, some of the hopes and the aspirations are not realistic. Kusaugs are almost 800,000 to 1 million people.
Yes.
Okay? You cannot have a situation where we will all be united and agree on every single thing. We cannot. So if you think that the leadership will all agree and follow each other and work together, it's not going to be possible. It's not a realistic expectation. We will disagree, but the point is how we manage the disagreement is what is my pain. Even if people have disagreements, there are channels to address those disagreements. Not on the platform.
Yes.
But when you come out on the platform and make wild allegations as a senior person, when you could have addressed these things, and talking about channels, January 2024, I was ambushed at the palace. You're talking about the palace. The palace has got part of its own problems. I was ambushed in the palace. They used the palace and made me to apologize for the press conference that we did in 2023. And for Asoka Day that we celebrated in 2023. They made me to apologize before our overlord. And our overlord supported it, that I should apologize. When our overlord himself was the one who came and sat and we did Asoka Day
and gave the
blessing.
But let me say, if he's the old man,
yes,
he's our leader, it's okay. You apologize. Let me use your brother's statement. Mama, when he made some statements in Parliament, and they forced him to apologize.
Yeah.
He apologized. So, if for the betterment of Kusaug,
and I did, and I apologized.
Exactly.
But I will not apologize for something and go and repeat it. When I do something, maybe apologize. I will not go and repeat that thing.
Okay, so that's why this thing
exactly,
you were not
exactly. So if you have asked me to apologize for press conferences, to apologize for Azumah Day, why do you want me to come back and do those things again?
No, probably. I think they want you to come back. Let's put our heads together. Let's see.
No, I wanted somebody to do it so that I will see how it's done. I wanted someone else to come and do it so that I will know, oh, this is how they do it, so that I can learn from it too. That's what I was hoping and praying for, sincerely.
But I think that in appointing you or voting you, I think it was not only a group, it was the whole of Kusaug, accepted you.
Yeah.
So, the question I asked, now the whole of Kusaug is looking up to you, the leaders that have mentioned that we want you to come together and lead the way for us to follow you.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, you are our father. Aside being the president of KPC, you are also a religious leader.
Yeah.
And I am asking that, will you lead the way? Say, my brothers, because of our internal issues, this is what the government has done to us, or this is what some people have done to us. Can we put it aside? Can we put our differences aside and focus on the main goal, which is Kusaug? Let's look at Kusaug. Because in the next 20 years, you might be there, you might not be there.
Of course.
The young ones coming up, how will their future be in the next 20 years if you people don't lead?
That's what I'm telling you. There are some things you can treat, some things you cannot treat. I am a realistic person. I'm a Christian. I'm a pastor. I'm a realistic person. Some things you can treat, some things you can fix, some things you cannot fix. I know my limitations.
Okay.
And I will not sit here and say we can do this when I know we cannot. When I know we cannot. One of the elders, you mentioned their names recently, just now. I won't mention names.
Yeah, I don't want to mention names.
One of them told me when we were putting KPC together, he said, you are putting KPC together and you have got this man there. This man, he used the local language. He said, I'm a soon posso. He soon posso that get it like, look at him. Soon posso. There's nothing you can do about him. It's done to remove it and throw it away. So, you see the point. But that's what this senior told me. You soon posso that pass here. You look at him all the year that he can make them there. So, let him gas. So for me, the man put Aranda, Banabore Batumla, Bazu Garbana Batumla. So we focus and work with the vast majority of those who want to work. That's my focus. Because in every movement, liberation struggle, you are going to have people who will be, even Martin Luther King in the US, he had black people who were opposing him.
Okay.
But he moved on with the vast majority. Mandela had South Africans who were black people who were opposing him, opposing the ANC. The Zulu and Kata movement were black, they were opposing Mandela. He moved with the black with the majority. Kwame Nkrumah had people from within the party who were opposing him. So you don't wait till you have everybody supporting you before you make a move as a leader. You make a move. Those who will support will support. Those who will oppose will oppose. But then the benefit when it comes is for everybody.
Okay.
For me, that's my philosophy.
Okay. So now that I want you to look into the camera and talk to the Kusaug people, the Kusaug youth, our mothers, children who are looking up to KPC. Tell them what you think we need to do now that the whole government system is against us and has caused these current issues that is happening.
Well, what I want to say to Kusasi youth and Kusasi people is that we will never run away from our land. We will never deny our tribe. We will never let anyone to rule over us. We will never let anyone to take over our land. But we have to work together. We have to learn to deal with our differences internally and not in the public domain. And I want to also plead that all of us, we have a common task, which is to secure our freedom and our sovereignty. That should be all of our aim. That is where our energies all should be channeled towards. And that is where our resources should be channeled towards.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be channeling our resources towards destroying each other, towards pulling each other down, towards just dividing ourselves up. It's not going to help us. So my plea is let's unite, and united we stand, united we win. Thank you.
So you like in Kusaug,
yeah, so my MRC and Kusaug and he Kusaug Tanamana Kusas Mbe Kusating Tekazi Gana Zokin capacity tenga Titim Manglana Homa than Akosagla Tibudi another Homa than Akosagla to Kona capacity booty to Kona Takati booty Tinobo Keka Sokena di Tengla Tinobo Keka Sokena di Budla you on your art and naba the Kotom Second Yen Second Juzian Kati Bisla Susuya Zabat Simla Kati Puap Nete da Sam Nete Nakim was a Susuya Nete Bonko Susuya Zabala Kati Yanga Juzian Dieta Tengla Utaka Ghana government bank and the governor Bobo Governor Pilo Governor Sabalo Kababang Yo Kosas so Kosa Kosas and Rud Kosa Kasoko Izisia in Kena Sogote the Kolonkulam to me ase so the man nor yen gum by an nap the man gum apang gum ayan gum agirema Kusaug make it nor yen
Kusaug me win it tasia
could they win a mentasia Kusaug win it tasia the Calibias post one baraka
the post ya Woody the post barka Tizina Sosakanane the Sam Professor John Azumah the post na mungo to the when it na theater the platform na Facebook YouTube TikTok Instagram platform na mawusa TV na one kana tiara ane maybe a picture ya town yazwa ting na amalo akozans ndego bye bye